A few days ago, I asked you guys in 2 different community posts to just ask me some questions about myself. Most YouTubers will have a Q&A at some point, and I felt like now is the time to get to that. However, before I get to that, I have a quick channel update. If you haven't noticed, I got a copyright strike on my 12.2 update video, and since that did take some tonal whiplash out of me, I'm gonna take some time off YouTube to let some of the time pass. I'm also gonna use this time to work on projects on the side, but I probably won't have an upload for at least a week or so after this Q&A. Back to the subject at hand, I'm going to split this video into 2 parts, one where I answer some Battle Cats related questions, and another where I answer some non-Battle Cats related questions. I am making this distinction because on my original community post, just about all the questions in there were Battle Cats related, and I wanted to make it a little bit interesting. Anyways, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you just somehow found this channel. You guys asked the questions, now it's my turn to answer them. What cat unit do you think is the most underrated in the entire game? The most underrated unit in the game for me would probably have to be Hades. Hades is always seen as a mediocre tank unit due to his rather low damage output, but I think his damage is good enough, especially when paired with a decent 13,000 DPS. His rather high attack rate also allows him to be a rather useful relic crowd controller, even if his weaken and slow chance are only 20% and last for a second. Hades is a crowd control unit that's meant to assist other relic crowd control units like Earl as a good way to ensure something stays slowed, especially against enemies like Sorrel, who tend to get juggled a lot. Also, his sheer health pool means you can usually just sit around and take hits in most stages. Of course, Hades has many faults, especially since his damage could be better, but I think it's fine enough of a unit. What specific aspect of the Battle Cats kept you interested long enough to keep playing and make videos on it? The main thing that kept me interested in the game for so long is the huge variety of units that are included in this game, opening pathways to several different ideas for strategies. My personal favorite strategy of mine was for a whole new world where instead of using Iron Wall to force Meta Filibuster to attack again, I could use Macho Crystal Cat to force him to attack again. Macho Crystal is also super useful against Cumulus due to them being one of the 2 enemies with a rather low knockback count in that stage. It also allows me to use the Breaker Blast Cannon as a way to push enemies back to reset Meta Filibuster's attack with Courier. If I could make any collab happen with the Battle Cats, bringing good stages and viable Ubers, what would I choose? This might sound like a generic answer, but I do think that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure would make for a great collaboration. With JoJo's huge cast, you could do a lot with the characters, like making Jotaro a more beefed up version of Delinquent Cat as a callback to that unit, making Jotaro's freeze last for 5 seconds, or making Dio have a bunch of immunities and target different traits depending on which part of Dio you're using. Which Advent boss or Cat Awakening stage has been your favorite? What Advent restrictions do you think you would put in for some of the ones that don't exist yet? My personal favorite special boss stage has got to be Cappy Jr., mainly because while the units you can use there are rather limited, the units that are viable there really shine, like Cameraman and Beefcake. If I could add a restriction to an Advent stage, I would add a minimum cost of 900 to Albi Bug, as this forces the player to not use units like Courier, Manic Island, and Neo Cutter, but it would still allow units like Drow, Dark Laser, and other expensive units you wouldn't think to use, like Wrestling Cat. Do you think Monthly Cats, Cyclone Cats, and Advent Cats should also get talents? Definitely, and I actually have ideas for talents for some of these units, and if you want me to expand on my ideas into a full video, let me know in the comments down below. What is your least favorite thing about the Battle Cats? Probably my least favorite thing about the game is just the treasure grinding. I'm glad to not have to treasure grind on my personal save for several years, but I know that this is one aspect of the game that causes so many people to stop playing, especially because it's such an integral part of progressing through the game. If I could add a new trait, what would it be and what specialties would it have? I think a cool idea for a trait would be something along the lines of a vampire trait. The enemies would have relatively low health, but every time they attack, they heal a percentage of the damage they dealt against your units. For example, a Vampire Doge would have 15,000 health and deal 10,000 damage. It would heal 25% of the damage it dealt, so they would gain 2,500 health back for each attack. I think if they were an area attacking vampire enemy, it would heal based on total damage against every unit they target, allowing them to regain health really quickly. I think this would incentivize strategies where you want to reduce the amount of units you have on the field, as well as to make specialist units more unique. It would also make the Weaken ability a much more useful ability, as it would reduce how much health the enemy heals. Going back to my example of the Vampire Doge, it would only heal 1,250 HP if weakened, giving you an easier time taking it out. What are some of your favorite aspects of the Battle Cats lore, and how do you think Legend Zero will fall into place as the 3rd chapter of Legend Stories? Probably my favorite aspect of the Battle Cats lore has got to be the relics. We know that they were ancestors to their modern counterparts or ancient guardians of their respective locations. Another cool thing is that Luza is the ancestor of humans in the Battle Cats universe, and how they guard what is essentially a tree of life. Zero Legends, I think, is the result of the cats attacking the sacred forest, causing a rupture in time and space, and causing things that aren't meant to be in the usual world to take shape. What is my favorite cat based on the design and details? My favorite unit in terms of design is definitely Dancer Cat. Dancer Cat is most definitely based on Michael Jackson, from the moonwalk to the flashy outfit that would be something Michael Jackson would wear to the chill attitude Dancer has on him. Good defense trademark? Yes. What is your first Uber? Coppermine was my first Uber. I still don't have her true form. Current user rank in the Battle Cats? As of writing this, my user rank is 14,529. I'm trying to get as many levels into my unit so I can finally unlock Super Feline's true form. What is your favorite set and why? My favorite Uber set has got to be the Dark Heroes. I like the fact that all of the forms of every unit are usable. All of the Dark Heroes also have really cool designs, especially Mad Dr. Clay. What is your favorite Advent Drop Cat? Slime, because they're such a little goofster and can nuke most peons. Also Slime over Jelly, and I will not be taking any questions on this. What is my favorite Battle Cats background music? My favorite background theme for the Battle Cats is surprisingly not Filibuster's theme. My favorite theme has got to go to the Into the Future mood theme, because that theme is so suspenseful and really makes any stage featuring it more intense. Which legend rare do you think is the strongest against its specified trait? I think the legend rare who is the best against their trait is Lumina. This is due to their sheer tankiness against aliens, which can be boosted even further thanks to their weaken ability, making them nearly unkillable against most aliens. How did I first get into the Battle Cats, and how did I discover it? Back in late 2016, just before the Christmas holidays back in the 7th grade, I saw my friend playing it on his tablet and I thought it looked cool, but I never really gave any thought of it. Then I saw Matt Shea's video about the Pikataro collab pop up in my recommended feed 2 weeks or so later, and that's when I started playing the game. Did you ever want to stop playing Battle Cats, but still have the motivation to still play this game? Back when I first played it, I had loads of fun with my first save. Then in late September of 2018, I had accidentally lost said save and forgot my inquiry code, so I could never really get that save back. I didn't really touch Battle Cats again until the Kyogre virus was first spreading around back in March of 2020, and that's when I decided to pick up the game again. It took me about 5 months to beat Stories of Legend. Those were the questions that were related to the Battle Cats that I decided to answer. Now it's time to move on to the non-Battle Cats related questions. How long does it take me to make a video? Depends on the type of video. For a non-commentary based video, such as my guides or no gotcha series, it takes me a few hours at most. A lot of that is just me writing down my thoughts or what I was doing for a level. For a commentary based video, it takes me a few days, as scripting, doing the voiceover, and editing take a while. Also, because of the noise during the day, I can only really get to do voiceovers during the night. What is my biggest fear in my life? This might sound odd, but probably being sued for the most random thing you could think of. I don't really have any usual fears that some might have, like death or whatnot, but the idea of possibly spending years dealing with the legal system just sends shivers down my spine. What was the video that I was most proud of making? The video I could say I'm most proud of making is the video discussing Courier's controversial status within the Battle Cats. I really enjoyed looking back into the past of Battle Cats and seeing the controversial aspects of it. The fact that it was outpacing the previous video, that being the 10th episode of 50 Facts in terms of views, really did put a smile on my face. What is my dream job, and have I done anything to get closer to having that job if you don't already have it? My dream job is to be an accountant. I'm going to be going to college in September to study in the accounting program my college offers. The reason why I want to be an accountant is because the job is rather independent and working with numbers and spreadsheets is something I'm really good at. Alright, we have to rapid fire through these questions. What is your full name, credit card info, and IP address? Pineapple on pizza? What came first, the chicken or egg? And how long do I plan on making videos? Decrypt this for the answer. If you want pineapple on your pizza, then go ahead. The egg, and there is no disputing this. Until I get bored of making videos. How many breads have you eaten in your life? None since the celiac diagnosis, but before then, probably somewhere in the thousands. What is my favorite movie and why? My favorite movie has got to be The Prince of Egypt. It is a very interesting retelling of the story of Moses. The music, the visuals, the drama, and everything else about it is so cool, and I really don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, so if you haven't seen it, I implore you to watch this movie. What is your favorite music album or a favorite song? Now, I'm not the type of guy who likes to listen to albums, but of the few albums I've listened to, my favorite album has gotta be Grown Up by Luke Combs. Luke Combs also just so happens to be my favorite music artist, and a good song of his to start out with is Forever After All if you wanted to start listening to him. What video was the most dreadful one for me to make? I think the video that was the most dreadful for me to make was my tier 2 Advent 4-star challenge video, mainly because of Queen Bee and Empress being the only ones I had to wait for their events to come back around again for the challenge. This is also the video that was the longest in production because of Queen Bee. I had started working on the video on July 23rd and didn't get it done until the start of September. What was my inspiration to start making YouTube videos? Chilhala's Battle Cats videos were probably my main inspiration to make videos. Seeing him have loads of views and thinking to myself, hey, I could probably do something like that. But Lucas was also another huge inspiration for my channel. How's my day been? Besides having to deal with that copyright strike, it's been pretty good. What's your favorite game that you haven't played on YouTube? Call of Duty Zombies, unless you want to count this video that only a few people saw. How do I like to eat cereal? Milk before or milk after? Actually, I'm not that big of a fan of having milk in my cereal. I don't like how it makes the cereal soggy. What motivation made me to keep making videos? I made videos for the fun of it back then when I was a really small channel, but when I started blowing up, seeing the comments supporting me and seeing people being shocked I only had a few hundred subs on my first Battle Cats facts video was what really made me keep going. Also, massive shout out to that video for being the reason why I'm here today on YouTube. Literally would not be here without it. And finally, what is the origin of having Saul Goodman in the background of my videos? Now, probably the most important question for the video. What is up with Saul Goodman being in the background of my videos? To answer that question, we have to go back to this video where I talk about fixing my biggest issue with the Johto games. I didn't really have anything to serve as my background, and I thought it would be funny to pump up the Gaussian blur to a high level, and it was funny seeing people asking if the background was Saul Goodman. The first Battle Cats video to actually use the Saul Goodman background was the 50 Battle Cats Facts number 2 video, where I just stuck it in there and treated it as one of those if you know then you know sort of deals. With that is the end of the Q&A, but before I go, I want to talk about the background footage I have used for this video. For those who are invested in my No Gotcha series, you'll be glad to know that this is how I beat heavenly creatures, because instead of trying to deal with 2 Borfims, I decided to exploit the enemy limit of 3. Gato Amigo is just fast enough for the speed up medium combo to get to Albro to knock them back. However, due to their low damage output, a miss sign would usually come out. Whenever an Albro was actually killed, another miss sign would come out because of how long it takes for one to die. I then needed to ensure Bahamut wouldn't kill anything onto the field, and once that happened, I beat heavenly creatures. If you watched all the way through, then I hope this gives you a bit of insight as to who I am, and if you enjoyed this, then give it a like, and if you stumbled upon this video and aren't subscribed, then hit that button as it will help me out in the long run. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.